it's a4J.
Plus mango.
And we have one for y'all today. We're making Nom Pajok, which is a Cambodian fish noodle soup.
Whoa! I'm ready to help, Mommy.
Well, actually, Mommy's helping Grandma make this, but I'll bring some back for you to try. First, we start by making krung. It's a lemongrass paste made with about a cup of garlic, which we need to peel. Grandma picked these kaffir lime leaves from her garden. It's about half a cup once we slice it. Ooh, check this out. It's a quarter cup of fresh turmeric. This here is a package of frozen finger root. It's about 1 cup total. Lastly, we need roughly 7 stalks of lemongrass. If we didn't have any of this in our garden, we could use frozen ingredients, but it just won't be as pungent. Oh yeah, we also have to add 1 Thai chili into the krung. Grandma and I spent a long time prepping the krung, so make sure you get comfortable. Slice the lemongrass thinly. This is much harder than it looks, so Grandma helped me out and busted out her Japanese mandolin slicer. It's great to run the stalk through, but we need to switch back to using the knife for the leafy parts. Next, we need to slice up the lime leaves. I found it best to stack the leaves together and then run the knife through. While I was chopping up the ingredients, Grandma peeled the finger root while it was still frozen. If it thaws, it's impossible to scrape off the skin. The next step is to slice the finger root crosswise into small pieces. The fresh turmeric needs to be peeled and sliced thinly as well. All these herbs need to be cut into small pieces because we're blending it all together, preferably without any water. The finer the chop, the easier it'll blend. Since the krung is so labor intensive, Grandma likes to make a lot and freeze it until we need it. Oh my goodness, Mango, if only you were here! Mom and Grandma bought 5 pounds of fresh live catfish. This is how we clean the catfish, and fair warning, it can be squeamish. See, if you dip the fish into boiling water all over, a layer of the gunk will just puff out. Grandma is a boss, so she used her bare hands, but I suggest using tongs to hold the catfish while you're dunking it into the hot water. What we just did allowed us to scrape off this filmy layer of gunk easily. Dude, Mangs, Grandma learned how to make Nom Pajok from your great-grandma when they lived in Cambodia. It's a pretty traditional dish if you ask me. Okay, we're not done yet. Far from it, actually. In a large pot, bring about a quart of fresh water to a boil. This time, we're cooking the fish through. We can place the fish whole into the water, but Grandma decided to save the heads and the tails to make another soup. It's really the fillet that we're interested in anyway. Oh, and don't forget to toss about a teaspoon of salt with the fish and cook until you can poke a chopstick through. If the fish was still raw, the stick wouldn't go through. Makes sense, right? Now we just fish out the fillet and allow it to cool for a few minutes. Once we can handle the fish, we remove the fillet from the bones. Don't do like me and use your hands because the fish was still hot. Grandma intervened, and like a boss, she used a spoon to scoop the fillet. Now I bet you've never seen this before. In a mortar and pestle, pound about a quarter cup of krung with 1.5 cups of fish. Yes, we pound the fish for a solid 5 minutes, which completely changes the texture of the fish so that it becomes kind of chewy and soft. That's the best way I could describe it. Then repeat until all the fish and the krung are pounded. We did this in batches because the mortar can only hold so much. Whew, now we can finish the soup. In the same pot and broth that we cooked the fish in, we'll add about equal parts of chicken broth. Grandma previously boiled a whole fresh chicken for the broth. Canned broth may work, but not recommended. So here's an optional ingredient, because it's fermented mudfish, which is super duper smelly stuff that we call pahok. We're going to stir about a tablespoon of pahok through a strainer because there could be bones in it. Then add the pounded catfish. We can dump the whole glob in, but we would struggle to loosen the fish in the soup. So instead, just scoop some broth into the bowl with the fish and loosen a little bit at a time, then ladle it back into the soup. Once we get all the fish into the soup, it's time to season. We'll need roughly 1.5 tablespoons of salt, 3.5 tablespoons of fish sauce, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and a whole can of coconut milk. Stir the soup to combine, and always taste and adjust as needed. Finally, the fish soup is done. Let's keep this on simmer until we're ready to serve. Nom Pajok isn't Nom Pajok without vermicelli noodles. I actually cooked the same noodles in last week's bansoon recipe. Like spaghetti, cook the noodles in boiling water until slightly al dente. Then, run through cold water a few times until it's cold to touch. How many times I had to say Grandma is so cool? She grabs a handful of noodles, sandwiches it between her hands, and squeezes out the water. If this is a struggle for you, feel free to strain the water and allow it to air dry in small bundles. Next up, all our veggie side dishes. There are so many different sides you can choose from, but here are some of Grandma and my favorites. Banana blossom. It's no surprise, this is also from her garden. To prepare it, cut off its end and peel off a good amount of the outer layers until you get this yellowy looking part. Cut the blossom lengthwise and remove the center core. Oh, whoops! Before we move forward, fill a bowl with water and squeeze in about half a lemon. And here's a tip. Remove the seeds before you squeeze. Now back to the banana blossom. Slice it very thin. Then keep the sliced blossoms in the lemon water to prevent it from browning. We'll squeeze out the water when we're ready to serve. Next, easy, cucumbers. Cut the ends off, slice lengthwise, then crosswise at a diagonal. We can go a little thicker than the banana blossom slices because we want the crunch. Now we have some yard-long beans. As you can see, they're very long. Cut the beans into small pieces and set to the side. And here's some cabbage. A little can go a long way. Slice it super thin. We don't want any large pieces. Lastly, Grandma literally just picked this green papaya for me to peel. Wow, once you peel the skin off, it's actually really slimy. Now cut the ends off and cut in half lengthwise. So Grandma's papaya had no seeds, but you would remove them if they were there. Then using a Japanese mandolin, grate it into very thin slices. So to remove that sliminess of the green papaya, and also to take off its raw edge, we rub a teaspoon of salt with the papaya for about a good minute. Rinse a couple times in cold water, then squeeze the liquid out, and voila! Oh man, Grandma and I are super hungry. Assemble the Nom Pajok with all your favorite veggies on the bottom, or to the side if you want to Instagram. Then add a few bundles of vermicelli noodles. Lastly, ladle a few cups of hot fish soup to top it all. Make sure you get some of that fish meat too. And then mix everything all together and enjoy. Alright, here you go, Mango. Mommy brought some Nom Pajok back for you.
Oh, Mommy, thanks for thinking about me. Oh wow, I can smell the krung in this. I don't know if I can make this though. It's so much work, Mommy!
Totally worth it. Check out our website at a4J.com for a blog post on Nom Pajok and krung, and get a free copy of this handwritten recipe. That's all for Jean and Mango.